to MSP Blastoff, episode number 2. We're going to be focusing on lead generation, and we've got MSP marketing expert Paul Green here to join us.
Hello.
My name is Jordan Hosmer. I'm the head of marketing at Domotz. I've been in the Bay Area for over 10 years, leading marketing and product teams and helping grow startups into strong businesses. I want to thank you all for joining us. A special thank you to any existing Domotz customers joining us. We appreciate you trusting your business with us. For those of you joining and not Domotz customers, I would like to, tell you that all the others here can confirm with the reviews on Capterra and G2 that we have an incredible platform helping MSPs and IT pros be IT support heroes. Once you download and install Domotz software agent, it'll automatically identify and map out devices on a network. You can configure alerts and when devices come online, make for security vulnerabilities, receive notifications when devices go offline, or network speeds reach certain thresholds, and do remote connection to troubleshoot any issues. We offer a 21-day free trial, so you can deploy Domotz to a testing site or begin monitoring a client's network. Our pricing is very affordable, just $19 a month for each monitored network. Transparent pricing, cancel anytime, so sign up today. But enough of the pitch. Let's jump into the good stuff. Like I said, we have Paul Green joining us here today. His book is owned by thousands of MSPs. His Facebook group has thousands of members. His podcast has, I think, over 45, almost 50 episodes of great content you should be following. Paul, how you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. I thought you were going to do a joke there, saying his book's got thousands of things, and he's got thousands of his Facebook. His podcast has got 12 listeners, and but no, that's a good intro. Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm really pleased with that. Say again, sorry.
I said, and he has 0 friends.
0 friends, yes, thank you. That's a very, very rude way to get started. No, thank you for having me back on the webinar. And we last time we were on, we took apart an MSP's website, if you remember, and that was just amazing, to taking that website apart and putting it back together. And today we're going to do a very similar thing, but for lead generation. So we're going to grab an MSP today. We're going to find someone who just isn't getting enough leads, which is a gut feel is going to be 95% of the MSPs on this webinar, and we're going to take their lead generation apart and put it back together. So in a way which everyone is going to be able to benefit from and use to generate more leads. That's the goal of today's webinar.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and just as a reminder to those just joining us, as Paul said, you can find our previously recorded episode on digital marketing kind of design and website design as well. And we had Paul Green on and an MSP from Philadelphia, and we kind of used that episode to critique his website and give him some real life pointers and strategies that he could implement. And so we're going to continue going forward with these, trying to give you actionable tips that you can implement for your business. And as he said, today we'll be discussing lead generation. I would also like to introduce Violet, Domotz community manager. You may chat with Violet, whether it's in Reddit, on the MSP subreddit, or in MSP Geek. Violet, how you doing?
Hi, great. Nice to have everyone here, and nice to meet you online and now face to face.
Kind of face to face for us, right? So we were just talking before this. We had an MSP all lined up, ready to go. They unfortunately weren't able to join us. They had to run off on an emergency, technical emergency. So the fortunate part about it is we are offering up an opportunity for someone to get free marketing lead gen advice from an MSP expert, Paul Green, and our team as well joining in. So raise your hand on the sidebar there. You can just click the raise hand. If you want free advice, you'll join us today as kind of the shining MSP example, and we'll give you practical advice, personal practical advice here today.
In fact, what we'll do, Jordan, is
while people are doing that,
for the MSP sorry, let me interrupt you there. For the MSP that does this, what we're going to do is we're going to help you put together a plan. So you will come away from this webinar in 55 minutes time, and you'll know exactly what you need to do to get more leads for your specific MSP.
Okay, we got someone. We got someone.
Fantastic.
All right.
There we go. Okay.
We've got Matt Kang at pseudo.com, and he is going to take some advice from us for today. Do you see Matt Kang?
Excellent.
He's in the chat.
Okay, I got it.
Oh, and Paul, one thing, what if we have no lead generation? Will this be helpful? So can we cover some really intro, like I've got nothing.
Yeah, we'll start at the beginning, but yeah, that's great. Yeah, don't worry, I'll do that. Okay.
Let's see. It looks like I just granted him access to join us. Hopefully he can jump on here. It looks like he is connecting to audio. So.
Yep. Hi.
Matt, can you hear us? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
How are you guys? Thank you.
Matt, where are you joining us from today?
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
Where are you joining us from today?
I'm actually in Silicon Valley. I'm in San Jose, California.
Oh, great. Not too far. Well, do you want to share us a little bit about share with us a little bit about your business and
Sure. So my company is Pseudo Technology Solutions. We've been in the managed service provider for probably 19 plus years. We work with a lot of small businesses in the law firm, accounting, and construction industry. Most of our clients that we work with, are on some type of retainer, and we provide full support for them. Help desk, on-site support, and anything that to do with the entire network. We usually have a staff on site that can go there and help them if needed, if we can't do it remotely. And my challenge, like you said, is lead generation. Most of the clients that we work with in the past has been coming through us through a referral. Okay. And sometimes the referral, we get different people from different industries. And our goal is trying to figure out how to have a consistent marketing messages so that we can just focus on like the same industry and keep that going so that our solution is consistent versus like we get sometimes a client from different industry and we're like trying to figure out, oh, that's a different application. We haven't even supported that before.
Mm. And can you share a little bit about your team? How large is your team?
Yes, we have a team under 10 employees, and we are an existing Domotz client, just to let you know.
Great, we love to hear
it. We offer, a lot of other solutions that we work with is, obviously Office 365 and voice over IP. And overall, we're just trying to figure out, okay, how do we leverage, the some of the leads that we've been getting is actually from our website, but it's not consistent. We're looking for different ways to get consistent leads.
Okay.
But what else?
Can I jump in there, Jordan, and get started? Do you think?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
Cool.
Paul's chomping at the bit.
I am literally chomping at the bit. Okay, Matt, hi. Thank you for volunteering. I know this is being recorded, which is great, and the reason I say that is I talk really fast, and I try very hard to talk a little bit slower, but I get so excited. And as you were talking now, I've just been taking some notes. I could talk to you for the next 4 hours. However, Violet and Jordan have told me we can't go past sort of the end of the hour. So Jordan, could you do me a favor? Could you tell me when we're 10 minutes from the end so that I don't have to keep an eye on the clock? That would be
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
So Matt, welcome. Thank you very much for the introduction to your business. So what you've just told me there is exactly what I would expect to hear from an MSP that's been going around about 19 years with around about 10 staff, with some, you've been around a bit. So we get referrals in, but people refer us the wrong way. We get leads through the website, but they're not the right kind of leads, etc., etc., etc. So you can take some solace in that where you're currently at, and I'm sure that you are more than happy with your business and you make good money out of it and you love the business and you love the work you do, but you just feel like there's something missing. Would that be a fair thing to say? And you're not quite where you want to be with the marketing and adding new clients?
That's correct. Marketing is probably one of the more challenging part for us. I mean, we love the helping customer, providing solutions, but sometimes working with the same type of customer, that's what we're looking for.
Yes. Yeah, no, I completely understand that. So I have a ton of questions to ask you, and then we're going to jump into some advice, and it's going to be very personalized advice for you, but also I'm going to make it relevant to every single other MSP that's listening, because the vast majority of MSPs are in exactly the same boat as you. Love the technical work, love the clients, love the staff sometimes, really don't like the marketing, and yet it's the marketing that makes a difference. If you were to if we look at 2021 and we say that 2021 is going to be a really tough year, and I think regardless of what's happening with COVID in you're in, where are you, in California? So I don't know quite what's happening with it in California at the moment, but I think the US is one of the most badly affected countries, isn't it? It's certainly pretty bad here in the UK. We're in a lockdown right now, and you just have to look at what's happening with business, and regardless of politics and all of that kind of stuff, it's going to be a tough year next year, and you are going to lose some seats. That's an inevitable thing, because your clients will be affected. You may even lose some clients. And I think certainly the US and definitely the UK are going to go into some kind of recession next year. In fact, I believe it's going to be the Great Recession. I think we'll look back at 2021 as one of a couple of bad years, a lot worse even than 2007, 2008. However, I also see that recessions and bad economic times create massive opportunities. And a business like yours, Matt, is exactly the kind of business that's ready to leverage that opportunity, because you've been going nearly 20 years. You're clearly good at what you do. You're clearly good at looking after your customers. I bet you've still got client number one or client number two from back in the day. Would that be correct to say that?
Yeah, we do retain majority of our clients unless they go out of business.
Amazing. So you've got, that's what most people say. We retain them unless they go bust, which says a lot about the clients we're looking after. But so you've got everything there. The one piece that's missing, and the one thing that really makes the difference, is a marketing machine that consistently and systematically churns out leads and prospects for you. And the key there are the words consistency and systematic. So I work with more than 350 MSPs around the world, around about half of them in the States and half in the UK. And I have conversations, one-on-one and group conversations all the time with MSPs. And this is literally the missing ingredient for everyone. In fact, when an MSP has got it right, because they are constantly having conversations and onboarding new clients, and it's a very rare MSP that does that. It tends to be the market leader in an area where they have that, and sometimes they have salespeople, sometimes they don't, but it's more about getting the marketing machine right. And when I say the marketing machine right, I mean a machine that consistently is generating enough people for you to talk to, and that's got to be the goal. So Matt, do you do the selling yourself in the business?
Yeah, so I do a lot of the selling along with one of my senior staff.
And your background, very briefly, are you a technical person yourself?
Yes, so I am. I have a technical background by training. I did some sales and stuff in the previous, but it's all technical related sales.
Okay. And when you go out to see prospects, which I guess doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen, my guess is that you have a fairly high conversion rate. So let's say for every 10 prospects you go to see, you would win 7 or 8 of those. Would that be a fair assumption?
Yeah, as long as we find like there's a good fit for them, they usually go with us. And our goal is finding the right client with the combination of, okay, what's the value that we bring to those clients.
Okay, so that's a great place to start, actually, because what you're talking about there, and I'm going to use your phrase, you said the right kind of client. So every MSP has a definition of what the right kind of client is, and for the vast majority, it's actually very similar. First of all, they pay their bills, they respect you, and they take your advice, and they genuinely partner with you. They might not do it at first or intend to do it, but over time, you get that partnership. Tell me how. What's a good plan for most MSPs is to put together something called a marketing persona. So a persona is an idea in your head of the perfect type of client or clients. And I say that because you work in 3 different sectors, which we're going to come on to talk about in a second. Marketing personas can work very well at helping you to focus on how to talk to people in a way that interests them. I'll give you an example of marketing personas from my background. So I used to be a radio presenter. I did that for 10 years, working on radio stations, just local stations in the UK. And about 20 years ago, which makes me feel very old, I was running a station in Cambridgeshire. So you've probably heard of Cambridge in the UK. And I was running a station near there. And the problem we had was I had all these 21-year-old radio presenters, all of them male. So they were boys, really. And they were trying to do entertainment on the radio for 40-year-old mums. Because at the time, the advertising market wanted 40-year-old mums, because 40-year-old mums make all the spending decisions. And the challenge I had is what do 21-year-old men know about 40-year-old mums? Nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. So we came up with the idea of creating a sample listener. And I can't remember what we called it. I think it was something like Sandra or Susan or something like that. And right down to, bearing in mind this was the year 2001, we pulled out magazines, and we would read the magazines that we thought she would read, and we'd watch the TV shows that we thought she would watch, and and all of that kind of stuff. And we would have discussions, me and a group of 21-year-old lads, boys, talking about what did we think 40-year-old mums were interested in. And then I sent them out to go and they went to sort of to listeners' houses and saw what it was like actually getting children ready for the school run and all of this kind of stuff. And our station got better and better and better, and we won awards, and we had better listeners and bigger audiences, because we were able to hook directly into what our audience wanted. And it became the must listen to station. And all of that came from that persona. We went even as far as we got a giant picture printed of Susan, and we put her up in the studio. So we said to the presenters, when you're talking, talk to this woman here. And don't talk to your mates or talk about, oh, you went out and you got drunk last night, because that's not relevant to a 40-year-old mum. What's relevant to a 40-year-old mum is what's on TV tonight, and this and this and this and this. So let's build a quick persona map for you. Which is your, you said law firms, accounting, and construction. Which of those is your favorite sector? What would you happily have? Which of those would you happily have more and more from every day?
They all have their own challenges. But for example, we've been working with trying to grow more of our law firm practices, because a lot of the stuff, what we consider, they are called informational worker. They produce content. They rely on the computers to, like the paralegal needs the computer running all the time to generate a legal document, to have, like now, a lot of meetings on Zoom. So more construction. More legal firms would be great.
Okay, well let's use legal firms. I have to say, Matt, I don't know much about the States. I've been there several times, and it's a wonderful place to visit. And we should have been in Orlando this summer, but for COVID. But I do know that it's the most litigious country in the world. Why the hell would you want more lawyers as clients? Are you mad? Do you enjoy lying awake at night waiting to be sued? I'm joking. Okay, law firms.
You got to find the right one.
Yeah, well, yes, you have to find the right one. So law firms are a great target market. And in fact, what we're talking about here is we're talking about a specific vertical. And again, making this relevant to every MSP, the more you can focus your lead generation and indeed all of your marketing efforts on a vertical, the greater the results that you'll have. So there's a real truism in marketing, which is relevance increases results. Let me say that again. This is a write down moment because this is an absolute key thing. Relevance increases results. If you had been told today there was a webinar about lead gen for businesses, you'd be a lot less likely to be on it, whereas this is a webinar about lead gen for MSPs, which obviously you identify as an MSP. So therefore, this appears to be more relevant to you. And that's why we've got good attendance on this. The trick is always to make your marketing appear to be relevant. Now, if you go after law firms and you're talking to lawyers and you want to talk to managing partners and you want to talk about their specific challenges, that is literally the easiest marketing in the world to do, because you can talk to them in their language and you can talk to them about their specific problems. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We will talk about general lead gen as well, but vertical lead gen is so easy, it really is. So Matt, give us an idea of what makes the perfect law firm for you. Literally, where are they? How many staff do they have? What kind of attitude do they have? All of that kind of stuff. Build a persona for us.
Yeah, so an example is a law firm with at least 10 staff or more. Ideally, we're looking between 10 to 40 staff, and most of them are usually like there's different type of law firms that we've been supporting, but a lot of them that we work with are one that actually invests in technologies, because we find that some of the law firms, if they are older law firms, they don't want to make any changes. That's one of the challenges we found. They don't. It was like the managing partner is 70 years old. He goes, "Why do I need to go to the cloud? I have a server here. It's been working."
Yeah, I get it. And so you're looking for younger mindset within the business. So that therefore you're looking for something that's more dynamic. They understand that technology frees them, that it allows them to do more. So there's a technology thing there. 10 to 40 staff. You said you were in Silicon Valley, so I realize you could look after law firms anywhere, but do you try and focus on, because you said about going on site as well, so do you try and keep your clients reasonably local to you?
Correct. So we do sometimes go on site because, meeting in person gives us a lot more. There's like that face-to-face contact. We feel like we can do everything remotely, but then if they don't see us, they go, "What am I paying you guys for?" Yes,
completely get that. How many law firms fit this criteria, would you say, roughly? So how many are in your area, right kind of size, and if we assume that 75% are the right kind of mindset, how many do you reckon there are to hit?
That's something that be honest, I don't know. I mean, how many total of law firms, and that's one of the things we're trying to understand better, how to do better market research for our client base.
Yeah. So the simple answer to that one is just go and buy some data, or at the very least do a data count. I don't have a firm I can recommend in the US. For UK attendees, there's a firm called Selectabase, which is great for data, which just resells Experian data. But go and find a reputable data company, data broker, and ask, at the very least, ask them for a count. Whether or not you buy the data, you give them the criteria and you say, look, this is the geographical area, this is the criteria I want, and how many are there? And the reason I would say that, I'm sure there are plenty of law firms within your area that meet this criteria. But one of the things you want to establish is the market worth it? Is it worth me being in this vertical? I sold a business 4 years ago. It was a marketing business that worked with veterinarians, optometrists, and dentists, and that was a great business. And we had a lot of fun with that and made a lot of money, and especially when we sold it. But one of the challenges, one of the many reasons I sold it, was all three of those markets were consolidating. So we only worked with independents, and in the UK right now, all of those healthcare markets are literally becoming corporatized. And veterinarian, actually, in fact, Mars, the chocolate company, owns more veterinary practices worldwide than any other company, which is a fact most people don't know. And they were, them and a number of other companies were buying all these up. And we realized that when we got into that sector, 10 years or 7 years before, something like 80% of the market was independent, and at the point we sold it, only 40% of the market was independent, and 4 years on, it's down to 20%. So I could see that literally the pool of people that I could sell my marketing services to was getting smaller and smaller and smaller, which is why one of the many reasons I got out. So it's worth you just establishing, how many of these law firms are there. The same with the CPAs, and obviously construction comes and goes. And if there is
that data that you're getting is from the data broker? How did you figure that out?
Oh, just from being in the marketplace. So one of the key things to what we're going to talk about here is not just lead gen; it's how to dominate a market. In fact, I'm just making a note to talk about category marketing because that's amazing as well. We want to dominate a market. So if you're going to look for more law firms in the San Jose area, you don't just want to be another MSP. You want to be the dominant MSP. So you want to be everywhere. You want them to think that you're everywhere, so that when a law firm is looking for a new, they don't call them MSPs, they call it IT support. When they're looking for a new IT support, you are just simply there. And because you are the legal IT experts in Silicon Valley. And they may not go with you, but you are there, and you're someone that they have to talk to. And one of the ways that you achieve that is that you marry a market and you fall in love with a market. Now you can do this with 2 or 3 different markets. As I said, I did it with 3 different healthcare sectors. The work that we did was exactly the same with all of them, but we did separate marketing for veterinarians, to optometrists, to the dentists. And but I married the market, so I read their magazines. Have you ever read a magazine for dentists? It's horrendous. Don't ever read a dentist magazine. It's full of pictures of horrible stuff. But we read their magazines. We went to their trade shows. I talked to my clients. All the time. I'd say to my clients, when we'd finish talking about their business, I'd say, "What's happening in your world right now?" Because you look at veterinarians right now, for example, because I still have a few sort of projects in that market. Veterinarians right now, it's all about telemedicine. As of March this year, they're all like, "Yeah, we should do telemedicine," and then suddenly they were physically banned from opening their doors, as were many businesses, and so they've all jumped into telemedicine, and some of them were doing it on WhatsApp. They were doing WhatsApp video calls, and could you imagine what a nightmare that has been when the client then WhatsApps at 10:30 at night of "How's my dog?" So there's actually, and I work with a UK IT company which is very, very focused on the veterinary market, and they're doing very well in that market right now. But a lot of that comes from just talking to your clients and saying, what are the challenges for you? In the UK legal market right now, there's again consolidation, and the barriers to entry are being removed, so the big companies can come in and do a lot of sort of basic law, things like house purchasing and all of that kind of stuff, and that's really scaring all the lawyers here. And there'll be similar trends in your area. There'll be statewide trends or national trends that are affecting lawyers, and the same with the CPAs and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a constant conversation with your audience. So let's go back to personas. Let's pick a lawyer. Let's call him Mike. Mike is your target client, and the challenge for you, Mike, and this applies to everyone who's on this call, is to get inside Mike's head and Mike's heart as much as you can. So let's guess what Mike's life is like. So you may even go as far as to actually physically get a picture of Mike, go and find someone who looks like a lawyer online, print them off, and you might do like a mind map or something around him to help you get your head in the game of, right, how am I going to talk to Mike? Because here's the thing we've got to remember: the people who buy from you, ordinary business owners and managers who buy IT support, they don't know what they don't know about technology. So they know very, very little. And if you think about the vast majority of your clients, if this is you and you know this much, they are here, they're down here. They know so little. And you think, every day you're talking and thinking about cybersecurity, you're thinking about data, you're thinking about collaboration, you're thinking about, how do we stop things from going wrong? You're thinking about speed. To them, it's just stuff they use. They really don't think about it. In the same way that every day they're thinking about, how do I sue more people? How do I serve more of this? What's happening in this judgment or that judgment? Their entire world is legal, and everything that's happening in legal. Your entire world is IT. But we as humans tend to assume that everyone else has the knowledge that we have. Let me say that again, because again, that's a key point. We assume that everyone has the knowledge that we have, and actually they haven't. So we're going to take Mike, and we're going to say he's a managing partner of a law firm. They've got 10 staff. They're based in Silicon Valley. What do we know about Mike? Because the challenge is we've got to get into his head and his heart, because he doesn't know. When someone doesn't know what they don't know about something, they don't make cognitive decisions about whether or not to buy from someone. This was something we looked at in the first webinar, which is very much worth you looking back at the recording when we were talking about websites. We were saying on a website, you cannot or you shouldn't be trying to influence people's brains, because the brains are not making the spending decisions. The vast majority of business to business buying decisions are being made by their heart. So even Mike, the cold, hard lawyer with cold blood running through his veins, not caring whose house he takes away on a daily basis, even Mike is making business to business buying decisions with his heart, with his emotions. And he's making the decision here, and then he's sending it up to his brain to be rubber stamped. What do we know about Mike? Matt, tell me about Mike. What's his life like? What are his challenges? What keeps him awake at night?
You know, dealing with computers when his employees have a problem, because that one of the first things he goes, I don't want to. I don't want them to call me when I have a problem. That's the first thing is I want just to call somebody else to deal with my problem.
Okay, tell me about Mike that's not to do with computers, because the temptation is again to flip straight into your world, and actually computers are a very small part of his world. So think bigger. What's Mike's life like? What are his challenges? What keeps him awake at night? What's frustrating him? What's he excited about? What's he scared about? And you can draw on your experiences with your existing clients for this.
So he probably has the same problem, is making sure that he gets his staff working, making sure that he gets leads and getting more clients. As a business owner, you want to generate more business. I'm sure that's the same issue dealing with employees, making sure that they get their work done, making sure that he has enough staff or attorneys to work for him when he has a lot of work.
Yeah. And what's let's say he's an ambitious guy. What does he want to do over the next 10 years and with his business?
His business would be, he wants to be able to open other locations and open maybe even franchise, have a franchisee, because that's what one of the clients we actually was telling us. He wants to be able to like set up an office here and then franchise it across the US.
Oh wow, okay. That's amazing. So
he's an attorney that does immigration. Immigration is a big challenge, right, in the US right now. Yes. I don't know how it is in the UK, but he deals with immigration law.
Okay, so he's essentially he's got expansion on his mind, and in fact, if we assume in your persona that you're putting together of this guy Mike, whatever that expansion is, there's expansion. If we assume this is someone in their late 30s, early 40s, because you have to pin your persona down to be as very specific as possible,
okay.
And then you target all of your marketing at that persona. And what do you actually do? Even though you're hitting, let's say we're saying that Mike's 40 and he's based here and he's got 10 staff and he wants to grow and he wants things to be fast and he wants to get stuff done, and he doesn't have time for mucking about, and that's a very, very specific kind of character. But if we target all the marketing at that, and if we get that right, we'll actually pick up a whole load of other people that aren't quite exactly that. And this is the beauty of having a persona. What it does is it focuses your message. Okay, here's what's exciting. All the stuff you've just said there, and by the way, this is completely applicable to any MSP. You can, whether you're within a vertical or whether you're in a general market, you pull a persona. If you don't have a vertical and you just want, I just want people around here, or people within a 100-mile radius or whatsoever, you can still build a persona. I have a persona for the type of MSP I want to work with. You can do exactly the same thing, and it just helps you to focus on that person. All the stuff, Matt, that you were just telling us about Mike, that's the stuff that you've got to communicate to him with your marketing. And that's why I asked you to talk about stuff that wasn't to do with technology and computers, because Mike is less like, well, put it this way, Mike, along with all the other clients, doesn't buy technology. He never has, he never will. He buys outcomes. So when we assume that he's with an MSP right now, if and when he switches to another MSP, and let's say it's your MSP, he's doing so not because he believes you have a better technology stack. because he has no way of judging that. He doesn't do it because you might have better staff, better qualified staff, or better accredited staff. Again, he has no way of judging that. He cannot tell if you're a better MSP than all of the others. He literally cannot. I've been working with MSPs for nearly 5 years. I'm not a tech. And even I have no idea if you're a good MSP or a bad MSP. I have a rough idea because you've kept the same clients for 20 years. But if I can't do that and I'm in your world, then someone like Mike absolutely can't, because he just can't do it. So this is why, again, he doesn't make a cognitive decision. It becomes an emotional thing. And he's going to pick you or not pick you on, could you or could you not help him get closer to where he wants to be? So the kind of driven business owner that you're looking to attract is really easy to market to, because they're looking to go somewhere. They're looking to go places. And I would argue those people make the best clients. You know, I don't know if you do quarterly business reviews, and whether you use some of the VCIO software, like there's one called Managed Service Platform, and there's another one which I think is VCIO. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but these kind of technologies are amazing for producing ongoing roadmaps. A lot of my clients do their quarterly business reviews with clients, and the fast-moving clients who are quite aggressive and they want to grow, those guys are brilliant, because you can have a constantly updated 3-year roadmap. You're literally saying to the client, this is the technology change that we're going to implement in the next 3 years. And of course, that's constantly ongoing. It's another way you keep the client forever, and because you're constantly proving to them your partnership by showing how you're going to help them to achieve their goals, which is just beautiful. So these are perfect clients. These are the perfect people to go for. Now, the big question then is, how do we attract Mike's attention in the first place? Now, let's have a look at the vertical again. The reason I got so excited about you doing vertical marketing is attracting someone like Mike is so easy, because we know who he is and we know where he is. So, Matt, the first thing let me talk about the concept that I teach. The easiest way to do long-term marketing for any MSP is to do a 3-step process, and the 3 steps are these, and I'll say them and then I'll go back and explain them. So the first step is to build multiple audiences of leads. The second step is to build a relationship with those audiences, and the third step is to then turn them into prospects, to commercialize them. So let's go back up to that first step. The first step then is to build multiple audiences. Now, when I say multiple audiences, I mean people who have chosen or opted to listen to you and what you have to say. Now, they're never going to do that if you're just saying sales messages. So this is why we have to be educators. And we're going to use a lot of content marketing. And in fact, this is the route for every single MSP. You almost need to stop being the owner of an MSP and start becoming the marketer of an MSP, and educate people about this. As a quick aside, and I've just spotted a book on my desk that I'm currently reading for about the 4th time. This is the best book you will ever read on content marketing. Oh, have you read it though? Have you read it?
Yes, I actually, I wrote an article on something, and actually about his while he was selling, how he sell pools.
That's right, yeah.
And actually I wrote an article based on what he suggested, actually generated leads from that.
Oh my goodness, to hear you say that. Because the next thing I'm going to say is, Matt, why haven't you done another one and another one and another one? Let me recap this book. So it's called They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. It is, I only read this year, and I've read hundreds of marketing books, and I could have punched myself in the face for not having read it 5 years ago. It is literally, I think this is actually what I've just said there about building audiences and building a relationship and commercializing them. That's the long-term strategy. This is your super long-term strategy, which is you become an inbound content company. The crux of this is Marcus Sheridan back in the 2007 had river spas and pools, river pools and spas, which was his swimming pool company, and they were spending too much on acquiring customers, and they were about to lose the business, and he would have lost his house, and so would his business partners. And he came up with the idea of what is now called They Ask You Answer, which is you take the common questions of the people you want to sell to, and you answer them with long form content on the website. And that's the crux of it. And there's a lot more to it than that. You have to build a culture of answering people's questions, and there's a lot more to it. But yeah, if you wrote an article, Matt, based on what Marcus Sheridan talks about, and that generated leads, as an aside, do that often, do that more regularly. In fact, one of the things he recommends in the book is that you hire a content manager and to write content for you. Even if you can't afford a full-time one right now, you can afford a part-time one. You know, you're in an amazing part of the world where there are thousands of starving writers currently baristaing in Starbucks. So you might as well get them doing some writing for you in the evening, and you don't have to pay $10 to do that.
Do you have suggestion on finding the right people who would write for MSPs?
Yeah, I do. And actually, I was being flippant about Starbucks. Go on to well, for the kind of they ask you answer, you need to hire someone that's going to work for you exclusively, whether that's full-time or part-time. But in general, to find a writer is so easy. There are literally more writers than there are writing gigs available. So you go on to Fiverr.com. That's Fiverr with 2 R's. Fiverr.com, Upwork.com. You find you put in writer technology, there'll be 10,000 of them, there's loads of them. You make sure that you pick the US and you pick English as their native language, which is really important. You can then look at ratings, and the more work people do, the more ratings they have. I would argue you want someone that's done around at least 20 jobs. But if they've done 200 or 300 jobs, they're going to be a little out of your price bracket. You want to get someone who's on the way up, who's proven themselves, but they're not quite good enough that they've got a regular flow of work and they can put their prices up. You want to take advantage of someone at the beginning of their freelance writing career. Find 3 that you like the look of, and then you give exactly the same brief to all 3 of them. And your brief might be that the easy way to do this is to do an audio recording of you talking for 60 seconds about a specific technical subject. And the brief is, please turn this into a 500-word article. And so you would give exactly the same brief and the same recording to all 3, because then you've got 3 pieces of work to compare. And you can look at those 3 pieces of work and see which you prefer. And that's a great. I mean, you might have to kiss a few frogs, but that's a great way to find a writer. Okay,
that's good. That's good to try. Thank you.
That's okay. We're going back to the 3-step strategy. So we've got build multiple audiences. So this is about finding people who are going to listen to you. So you need at the very least 2 audiences. I'm going to tell you what yours are, Matt, and for everyone else that's listening, these are your audiences too, because they're the 2 standard audiences that MSPs build. The first of them is an email database, and the second of them is your LinkedIn connections. And we're going to go into each of those in a little more detail. There are other audiences available, which I'm not going to talk about because they're not relevant to everyone, but Instagram would be an audience if you targeted consumer-facing businesses. So for example, retail, hospitality, they use Instagram really extensively to reach consumers. Not currently, but in normal times they do. And if you've got the business owner or manager, the business owner or an influencer is typically on Instagram doing that, you can use Instagram to reach those people. That's not for the vast majority of MSPs, but if one of your verticals was hospitality or retail, you would do that. Another place you'd build an audience is on Facebook. Facebook is a double-edged sword in that it's where people are, and it's a great set of tools, but it's really quite difficult for an MSP to build audiences there. The way that you could do it, Matt, actually, is do lawyers use Facebook?
Do they?
Yeah.
I mean, they do to some degree, but I don't, that's the thing is, I haven't found a lawyer that tells me that he's using it for his business. At least I haven't out there and asked him.
Whether they use it for the business or not is irrelevant. It's whether or not they're on. So I have you could, I don't think you should, but you could start a Facebook group for technology for lawyers. Technology for lawyers in Silicon Valley, and that's a very, very specific Facebook group. And Facebook groups are very hard work. I have a Facebook group called MSP Marketing. So if you go into Facebook and type in MSP Marketing at the top and go to groups, you're welcome to ask to join that. And that's to anyone on this call. And it's only for MSPs. And we've got about 1,050 people in there, which is amazing. It's taken us 3 years to get to that point, because it's a very super focused, it's like a niche within a niche within a niche, super focused Facebook group. But that Facebook group generates thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a year in revenue for me, because it's an audience. So I don't sell in that Facebook group. I educate, I teach, I communicate, I interact. And along the way, some people come out of that and say, hey, can you help us with this? Or can we buy this from you? And you'd have exactly the same thing, Matt. So a Facebook group could work. Other areas that you would look to build audiences. YouTube is an amazing place to build an audience, only if you generate good videos. I don't personally do YouTube because as much as I like doing videos, it's an enormous amount of work. But there's an MSP, in fact, there are 2 MSPs in the UK that I know of, and there's bound to be some in the States, it's just I haven't met them yet, that use YouTube as their primary marketing channel. And they are adding subscribers onto their YouTube channels. And they've only got a couple of hundred, but there's one in particular I work directly with who's down on sort of the coast in the UK. And he does a proper YouTube style video every week. So he'll stand in his empty office and he'll present, he scripts it, he's got a teleprompter, he presents it to camera, but then and this is the real magic with the YouTube, he gives it to a freelance editor who spends hours and hours and hours making it YouTube, if you know what I mean. And do you have kids, Matt?
Yeah. So
yeah.
What is the name of the MSP? I'm just curious. I'd like to check out.
I'm not going to mention it now only because I don't have his permission to do that, but we will get that link to you to make sure that you do that. What I don't want to do is flood his YouTube channel with hundreds of MSPs, which aren't his target audience. You can understand that. But his editor makes the YouTube videos entertaining. So he'll take 2 minutes of footage and do things like put stuff on screen, zoom in on his face, and put sound effects, and it's professional. But he's rapidly getting, people stop him in the street, but when he's talking to people, they say, "Hey, aren't you the guy that does the so-and-so YouTube?" And he's getting a reputation from it. So again, that's an audience. A podcast is an audience. Jordan mentioned my podcast, which is the MSP Marketing podcast, available on your favorite podcast platform. Just on episode 53, I think, and which comes out every Tuesday, and that's an audience. In fact, we've had something like 40,000 listens to that this year in its first year, which is just amazing. 10 people listened to the first episode. It was ridiculous, but it's built over time. And again, a podcast could be an audience, but it's not the audience for you. Here are the 2 things I want you to focus on, Matt, and I want you to focus on them because they're going to give you the best returns. So the first of them, and the most important one, is your email database. So do you currently have, and I'm going to ask you to be brief because I've just clocked the time and it's 13 minutes to, and Jordan's about to give us the 10-minute warning. But very briefly, do you have a CRM like MailChimp or something like that? And do you have an email audience? Okay.
Yeah, I do have MailChimp.
And roughly how many people have you got within that within MailChimp?
We have less than 1,000.
Okay, that's good. I mean, that's better than the answer I normally hear, which is no. We haven't got one, and we've got one in there. Do you segment them? So you've got a segment of lawyers and a segment of CPAs and a segment of construction and other stuff.
Not yet. We just put all of them in one bucket and we send out newsletters to them.
That's fine. That's fine. So at least you're doing something, and doing something is always better than doing nothing. Here's the next step, and you don't personally have to do this. You get someone on your team to do it for you, or you hire a virtual assistant. And again, just Google virtual assistant Silicon Valley. You'll find a ton of them. They're amazing. You pay them by the hour, and they do menial stuff for you, so you don't have to. I have 3 virtual assistants, which makes me sound like some kind of megalomaniac, but it's just actually every single possible job I don't have to do, someone else remotely does it for me. So I can do things like this because I'm the only person in the business that can do this. And you should have the same kind of attitude to this. So get a virtual assistant to go through your MailChimp and simply look at each person. Are they a lawyer? Yes, they go in the lawyers group. Are they CPA? They go in the CPA group, and you segment the database. Because when you start segmenting, that's when you can do really clever targeted stuff. The second thing you do is, and this might be something you have to do, is you've got 19 years worth of business communications sat in your email. And you need to go back through those 19 years and look at every single conversation you've had with anyone who didn't become a client. So every single email, you find out every single business card you've ever been given, every single networking meeting you ever went to, every single phone call, every single web inquiry, they're all sat there. This is the business data equivalent of putting your hand down the back of the couch and searching for coins. You want to find all this data. Every single MSP I've ever suggested this to, even those that have said, oh, we've already got our database and our CRM, they've all found data. Because unless it is literally the culture of the business to collect and protect that every single piece of data and put it into the CRM, it's not there. So you probably have another 1,000 people that you've talked to over the years that aren't actually in your CRM. And you're going to ask me in a second is, hey, what do I need permission to email those people? You are in, even though you're in the most litigious country in the world, you're in the country with the least strict spam laws. If you're in Canada, you'd be screwed. because in Canada, you actually get shot in the head if you email someone without their permission. It really is bad. And the UK is somewhere in between. But in the US, you can just do what you want. It doesn't matter. Literally get those people, put them into the, and I'm joking about you can do what you matter. I know there are laws, but get those people, put them in, because it just bumps them up. Some of those people are going to be dead. Some of those people are going to be out of business. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. If you start putting several thousand into MailChimp, then you'll have a problem because you're acting like a potential spammer. But if it's a few hundred and you sort of put them in over a couple of weeks, you'll be absolutely fine. So you've got this email database. The next thing we want to do is we want to build that email database. This is where we get into the lead gen. The way to build your email database is you've got to assume that no one wants to join your email database, because they don't. No, we all get far too many emails. So therefore, what you've got to do is you've got to offer them something in return for their contact details. We call this an ethical bribe, or if you Google it, you might also find it called a lead magnet. And it's been around for, I mean, hundreds of years, but certainly on the internet, it's been around for 20 years or so. It's where you give someone something in return for their contact details. So for example, with my clients, I give them a book. We've written a book, it's called Email Hijack, and they can literally put their name on the front, and it's a book which is of interest to people who may become clients of theirs, rather than it being a tech book. And what they can do is they offer that book to people in return for their contact details. I do exactly the same thing on my website. I have a book called Updating Servers Doesn't Grow Your Business, and I give that book away for free. In fact, I physically ship it to people in the UK and the US completely free at my cost, because what it does is it gets people into my email database. And also critically, it starts a relationship with people, which, if you remember, is the second step. So in some way, Matt, and you don't have to do a book, but you need to find something that you can give to them of value. Now, because you're dealing with a vertical, this is the easiest thing in the world. You take all those things that we were talking about that I can't remember his name now. What was that guy going to be? Mike, wasn't it? All the things that Mike worries about, and you write about those things. So the worst thing that you could do is create something that's about technology and cloud and servers and all that stuff. Write about, and it would be, obviously it would be IT themed, but you write something that any managing partner would look at and go, wow, I've got to get my hands on that. And it's got to seem really specific to them. I mean, you could take, you're absolutely welcome to rip off my concept of what we put in Email Hijack. You can't rip off of the book, because I will sue you, but you can rip off. I'm joking. I'll get someone to sue you. Get one of your clients to sue you, actually. You can take the concepts. We just wrote a book about how the vast majority of security problems start with an email. One click on one bad click on one email, one bad email from one person starts a ransom. Starts that 90-day ransomware attack. You could write about that. You could write from your own experience. What would be even better is to write a case study, if you've got one, of a lawyer who you've worked with who had an attack and how you saved them. I once worked with an MSP. They had a financial advisor client whose office burnt down, and everything was fine. They were backed up, in all the right locations, and they got spare computers the next day. There was actually no IT crisis, but it became an incredible case study, and we called it something like the day I watched my financial advisor. The day I watched they're called IFAs in the UK, Independent Financial Advisor. The day I watched my IFA office burn down, and the lessons I learned from it. And so it wasn't even about technology, but they turned it into this massive case study. And as you can imagine, any other IFA would want to read that, because if I said to you, oh, by the way, Matt, there's this thing that's been written, and it's called How My MSP Got Hacked and What I Wish I'd Done to Prevent It. Would you like a copy of that? You'd rip my arms off to get a copy of that, because isn't you being hacked one of your biggest fears? Absolutely it is. So you pull, whether it's a case study or a piece of information, something that the lawyer cannot resist, and you grab that and you offer that to them. Then you go and you buy data of every single lawyer that you want to target.
Offer that to them in exchange to get the email address. Is that what you're saying? Exactly
that. So you offer it to them to in exchange for their email address. There's a number of different ways you can do it. You can either do it as a data capture page, which you should have on your website anyway. I would go and buy the data, because you know who you want to target, and there's only going to be about 500 or 1,000 of them. So I would go and buy the data. I would, you could send them an email and say, hey, would you like to have this book, so that they opt in. The process of someone opting in is a better start to the relationship than you just spamming them. You could send a postcard to them. You could target them with adverts on Facebook, because you could upload people's data to Facebook into something called a custom audience, and you can show, it's an advert that's only shown to those people. You could feed that data into LinkedIn. You can either put it as contacts in your email, or just do it the slow way, get a virtual assistant, or use an automated tool like Dux Soup, D-U-X Soup, to target these people. The point is, when you've got a vertical, you know exactly who you're after, and all you've got to do is you've got to find out where they are. They're on LinkedIn, they're on email, you can post stuff to them. What groups are they in? What forums are they in? What magazines do they read? What blogs do they read? Advertise on those, and there's a whole different way of doing it. If for everyone else, if you're not targeting a vertical, you've got to take exactly the same kind of thought pattern of where are these people, and it's easiest to reach them on LinkedIn and all of that kind of stuff. Jordan, I know I have 5 minutes, so I'm going to speed through in 5 minutes. The second audience is LinkedIn. LinkedIn, as I said, is you know who you want to target, and the easy thing, your LinkedIn, you must do the connections as you personally, Matt, not the business. For a number of reasons I won't go into, but just trust me to do it as a person, not a business. The thing with LinkedIn is use automated tools where you can, follow their rules, and you won't get into trouble with LinkedIn. Hopefully you won't, because it doesn't like automated tools. And find people. The shortcut is to find people who are already connected to the people you want to reach. So somewhere on LinkedIn, there's a guy or a gal who's connected to a whole load of lawyers and managing partners in your area. Find them, friend request them, and then set your automated tools off harvesting their connections, essentially. Slightly unethical, but it's the speedy way to do it. So that's, I mean, in an essence, if you can build those two audiences, so you've got an email database and you've got LinkedIn, and particularly if you can also get between the two, so someone's on your email database and they're connected to you on LinkedIn, that's your lead gen. It's as simple as that, but that's only the start of it. You've then got these two other steps, and the next step is to build a relationship with people. That's really easy. That's content. Now, you've already seen the power of content because you wrote that article for the They Ask You Answer article. Every week, create new content. If you can't do it, get your writer to do it for you. Put it on your website as a blog article, send it out as an email newsletter. Remember to make it very specific, because you can do a specific version for the law, you can do a specific version for the CPA, another version for construction. You can take the same article and do different versions of it. I know, because that's what I used to do with the 3 sectors that I work with. The same article tweaked on 3 separate websites. So you send out an article every week, you put something on LinkedIn. The final step, so the relationship building is easy. It's literally about educating them. Don't talk about technology. Don't talk about the cloud. Talk about outcomes. You know, no one cares about the technology like you do. They care about the outcomes. They care about what they can do with it. The final step is commercializing it, and is turning these people into prospects. So they're only leads at this stage. A lead is someone that could buy from you one day. A prospect is someone that you're having a conversation with. 2 ways to turn leads into prospects. Both of them are offline, and you have to go offline with this. Number 1, send them stuff in the post. So you might send them a sales letter, you might send them a physical print newsletter, you might send them a book, but you might send them a clipping, something you've seen on the internet with a personalized note, but you send them something. Physical stuff stands out so much these days because we have so little physical stuff coming to us. The second thing you do, and this is the ultimate secret weapon for MSPs, is you pick up the phone and you call people. Nothing beats phoning your database. Back in the last business I had, we had 12,000 leads in the database. All of them opted in. We had 3 full-time people phoning them all the time. We weren't selling anything on the phone. The purpose of the phone call was to book a 15-minute appointment with the salesperson. And it took us something like, I can't remember what the numbers were, but it's something like 500 dials got us a client. So it might have been 500 dials to get through to 50 people to book 30 or 10 appointments or whatsoever, and that got us a new client. But we knew our numbers so well that we knew that if our people were picking up the phone all day and ringing these people who were educated a little bit because we've been sending all this educational content out, then the chances of us winning them as a client, it was just a numbers game. And that's what the position you want to get to, Matt, where it's just a numbers game, because you've got so many people in your email database and your LinkedIn, and someone somewhere is phoning them for you, moving the relationship forward. one day they're going to phone the right person at exactly the right moment, and they're going to say, do you know what? I'm so glad you called. I hate my IT company today for this reason and that reason. Can we have a conversation? And you and I know that you are, the chances of you winning that person as a client is really high. Matt, I'm conscious I've talked at you very rapidly there. What final questions have you got before we wrap up?
So usually when finding the right people to work for us, that's finding the right people to help us with the marketing. That's the challenge
Yes.
that I have, because I don't know who is the right person, because I can interview a system engineer to work for because I know what to ask. But when we're trying to hire, let's say, a marketing person, finding that person is always a challenge. Do you have advice?
Yes. Not that we can do in like 30 seconds, because that's a very, very big subject. We could do a whole webinar about it. It's essentially, though, you're looking for results. You always want results, and as I was saying earlier, try and hire people at the sort of not quite at the start, but when they're just starting to get success. A friend once said to me, you never want to hire, in the same way you wouldn't hire a poor lawyer. Right? If you go to a lawyer's office and they've done 30 years and it's a bit Better Call Saul, they're sat in a mall, however you say it, in a shopping area, and the office is a bit tatty. You wouldn't hire that person because they can't be that good a lawyer. It's the same with marketing. If you're going to hire a marketing person, hire someone whose own marketing is good and who's clearly doing well for themselves. The trick for you is catching people early in their career before they've been able to sort of put their prices up and whatsoever. I always think hiring freelancers is better than hiring marketing agencies as well. Marketing agencies, there's so much wastage built in, and you end up being serviced by children while the guy at the top is off winning new clients. But hiring freelancers, and you can find some great people on Fiverr and Upwork. You just have to go through a lot of people to get to the right people.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Got it.
So sorry, that wasn't a particularly comprehensive answer, but that's, as I say, we could do a webinar about that. Matt, thank you so much for volunteering. Violet or Jordan will give you my email address off the webinar, so that you'll have some follow-up questions. Feel free to email me and I'll happily help you. But thank you very much. And Jordan, over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, we really appreciate you raising your hand and jumping in here. It's great to have Paul be able to ask you direct questions and apply it to a specific business. So again, we really appreciate it. Paul, thank you. Another action-packed hour, tons of tips. I want to remind everyone this recording will be sent out, will be posted on our site, on social media, so you can slow it down a little bit. You can think about how it applies to your business. Paul, I did want to ask what's the best way for people to connect with you and learn more about
just go to my website. It's Paul Greens with an S, Paul Greens, MSPmarketing.com. On there, on the homepage, there's my book. It's called Updating Servers Doesn't Grow Your Business. You fill in the form. I'll send you a copy of the book. Literally, if you're in the States, we physically ship it to you. We've got about 2,000 copies sat in Detroit, I think. And obviously you're on my email list. You can unsubscribe if you want to, that's fine, but most people don't. And we've got the Facebook group as well. So it's into Facebook, type MSP Marketing at the top, go to groups and apply to join that. And we'll be able to have a chat in the Facebook group.
Yeah, okay. I mean, this kind of information on an email list, I can't imagine why you'd unsubscribe, but and don't forget to check out Domotz. Again, you can sign up for a free trial. If you'd like to connect with our sales team to learn more about specific features or customizations, sales@domotz.com, or just go to our site, domotz.com, and you'll find the information there. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Are we clear?
Yeah.
We are.